Welcome back to Face the Nation. We're continuing our conversation with Texas Republican Congressman Will Hurd. To pick up where we left off, we were talking about how your home district is going to be impacted by this emergency declaration. Today, White House senior advisor Stephen Miller told Fox News' Chris Wallace that the White House has the authorities to build a couple hundred miles by the end of the next appropriations cycle, which is September 2020. You sit on House Appropriations. Can Congress or the courts stop the administration from getting the money to do this?
Well, what this national emergency declaration does is it says the president is going to obligate funds, so he's going to take funds from other places, but you can't spend $8 billion in the next 6 months. And so what I think you're going to see in the next appropriation cycle is restricting some of that funds. And then the question you have is when it comes to military construction, right? Can you take funds from that was going to be used to constructing things in the military? And you outlined a couple of items earlier in this segment, but how about the fact that in my district, in Del Rio, Texas, this produces more pilots than any other facility in the United States of America. If it rains more than an inch, the flight line gets flooded and they can't train. We've been working on fixing that. We're trying to get more additional funds. If you're going to reprogram money, that's a good place to spend that kind of money rather than trying to build a wall. And we have to remember, there's already 654 miles of wall or barrier or whatever you want to call it, steel fencing. The president has already been authorized over $55 million. In this last appropriation bill, he was able to reauthorize $750 million within Homeland Security. My concern is our government wasn't designed to operate by national emergency. Unfortunately, a Congress that existed before I was born usurped some of their power, gave some of their power away to the executive branch. Our government was designed for the most ultimate power, the power of the purse, to reside within Congress, and we shouldn't have an executive, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, that tries to get around Congress with this national emergency declaration.
So would you support a resolution to try to stop the president from doing that?
I would support something that reviews who can, how you declare a national emergency. I would support something that actually is going to prevent taking money out of military construction. That's going to go to our men and women who are willing to put on a uniform, put themselves in harm's way, and they need to make sure that we have the tools that they're properly trained and they're properly equipped to do things. So I'm always open to making sure that Congress takes back some of its power as a co-equal branch of government, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversations. We're almost in uncharted territory because I think, based on my research, this is one of the first times that there's been a disagreement between the executive branch and Congress on what is indeed a national emergency. It sets a dangerous precedent, but there will be a lot of people focusing on this over the next couple of weeks.
So to be clear, you are saying that this wall that you don't think the United States needs on national security grounds will actually adversely impact national security because it will hurt the readiness of some of these military bases in your district?
If you're taking money away from the military, we just spent the last 4 years rebuilding our military, making sure the men and women in our armed forces have the tools that they need. I don't want to see that money being taken away from that. We went through a number of hearings and investigations in order to figure out where that money needs to go. And so that is how our government is supposed to operate.
And you're confident that Congress can stop that money from being raided from those military construction funds, the $3.6 billion?
I would say that people are going to be exploring how that can ultimately be done because we're in uncharted territory. But I want to also make it clear that $67 billion worth of drugs are coming into our country. 400,000 people came to our country illegally last year. We have a problem at our border. We don't have what I call operational control of our border, meaning we know everything that's going back and forth across our border. So this is a problem. And the only way we solve the problem is looking at all 2,000 miles of our southern border at the same time. And the only way you can do that is with manpower and technology. In some places, a physical barrier makes sense where there's urban-to-urban contact. Again, we already have 654 miles of physical barrier. So we got to be thinking about the strategy, not a focus on just one tool within that strategy.
Congressman, thank you very much for joining us this Sunday.